saying that loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Late at night when all the world sleeps, I wish on a star that somewhere you are, dreaming of me too. Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to 7 Minutes in Evan. Selena might have been one of my first crushes, which mind fucked me because my version of Selena was Jennifer Lopez. Okay? Just rocking the Selena bottoms. God damn. I don't know what Jennifer Lopez is doing. All right, let's talk about it a little bit. I didn't mean to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it. Jennifer Lopez. Is it pure baby blood that you think she's consuming to have this longevity? Or do you think it's like the life force of men? Okay. Like she is a succubus where she's just getting on men and literally taking the life force from them. Like a black widow spider. She just climbs on top of them while they slumber and her arms break and everything. And she's like, and she crawls out on top of them and literally sinks her fangs just in them and the life force out of them. Because ain't nobody lasting the way J-Lo's lasting, all right? There's no one doing it like Jennifer Lopez, okay? At least what it seems like naturally. I think that's the secret is she drinks baby blood. No. I remember seeing an interview that she doesn't smoke and she doesn't drink alcohol. And that makes sense. Listen, I don't really drink. I've started to have like a beer here and there, some wine. I go out to the deer leash. Your boy is getting litty as a titty. Okay. And not while I'm hunting, but like just around the campfire. But like that kind of thing. But I don't really drink. It's rare that I'll have more than one or two beers or a drink. And it's honestly, it's just a way of life, you know? I think there's a lot to that where it's like, I wonder how different my life would be if I didn't go so hard in college. Because when you party in college, it's almost like you're opening a credit card for your health. It's like you're taking out a loan on something that you're going to have to pay interest on later. That's what it feels like whenever you make any harsh decisions because, man, I got to be honest with you. There were some times, late high school and early college where your boy was like, I don't think I didn't need to be taken to the hospital, but like the Grim Reaper was hanging out at the party just to make sure, where it was like, he was just in the corner. He's like, well, I'm here for that guy because if he continues down this path, I just don't want to be far away because then I'm going to have to drive back here. I'd rather just hang out and see if this pays off. Like some of the decisions that were made were just crazy. It's almost like rattlesnakes, like baby rattlesnakes when they don't know how to use all their venom, like they don't know how to control it. That was your boy, okay? I treated alcohol like it was DMT. I'm trying to get to the bottom of the rabbit hole. I was, Christopher Columbus, shout out to that piece of shit. I was trying to explore new worlds. I remember the first time I drank alcohol at a party, I thought I was in a movie. I remember being like, this doesn't feel real. I was saying that out loud. You know how much of a fucking dork I am to be at a party drunk and being like, this doesn't feel real. Like telling them, I sound like I'm a goddamn Disney movie, like a afternoon special, like on Lizzie McGuire. I'm just like, this doesn't feel real. But you know what? It was real. And your boy has to live with that fact that I got naked and did a backflip into a pool on a dare. Okay. First time I got drunk. Okay. I also remember going underwater at a pool, first time drunk, and being like, maybe I don't need to breathe anymore. You know how like this is why bad decisions are made on alcohol, because when you're first doing it, it's a whole new world. It's like stepping into the upside down. You're just like, whoa, this is all new. It's literally probably like doing DMT where you're like, this is a new universe. That was me when I first started drinking in high school. I had to retest everything. It was like Adam and Eve walking out of the garden. I'm like, okay, new rules. All right, we just landed on this new planet. Let's see if logic and physics still apply here. Would it just be on and that's the thing, the baby rattlesnake didn't stop the first time. It was like, I would go out and there was this house where they just didn't have a lot of parental supervision. They were always, anyway, we would all go there like Lord of the Flies, sometimes during the week. I remember going there on like a Wednesday, should have been in school, but we start day drinking. I remember there was like, the dumb shit you do in high school where you're just like, yo, let's start at 10 a.m. Let's see if we can do 13 shots of vodka. Like we just make up these stupid games that were like, let's Candyland this. But at the end of the finish line, it's alcohol poisoning. When you win the game by violently vomiting and losing control of your motor skills and just full body function at that point. And I remember one time I did this halfway through the game. I remember one buddy was at 9. I was at like 8. And I'm like, you know what? I put on my fucking explorer hat. I look like the Hobbit who's just like, let's go on an adventure. But I don't tell anybody I'm going on an adventure. I was that guy. I was a fucking ninja. I would throw a fucking poof ball down and I'm gone. You'll never see me again. I've escaped and I'm never coming back to this place, but I'm going to leave a trail. You're going to find things that will lead you to me. Looking back, it was a fun thing for my friends because I would send them on treasure hunts. All right. And X marks the spot where you're going to find your boy fucked up. And that just happened to be a 7-Eleven. All right. Down the street, climbing the roof in the back. By myself. Just thought it was a cool thing. There was also a cop parked in front of 7-Eleven, like getting gas or something. But this one particular time, I just decided I was gone. I walked out the front door with a drink and noon, and I walked probably 6 or 7 blocks on the main street and ended up at a 7-Eleven. And since I was in just a different dimension and I'm like, this life isn't real. Like this is whatever. I'm lucky I didn't treat it like Grand Theft Auto and really be like I knew some rules existed, but like I could have just got into someone's car, threw their baby seat out the window and been like, we're going to the school, go to the school and just fight your least favorite teacher. How dope would that be, huh? There should have been something like that, like teachers who aren't good teachers and were just like shitty to you for no reason. When you turn 18, you're allowed to challenge them to a fight, like in the center of the quad. I would have loved that. Before I get too lost down this rabbit hole, I once had a teacher who it was this agreed upon thing. He was a history teacher. He was a football coach, but he didn't give a shit about teaching history. He would read you just the chapter in class. That's what he did. He didn't know anything about history. It seemed like some of the stuff he was learning the same time we were. He was just like, oh shit, well, oh wow, that happened. Like you could tell it was like he was reading Lord of the Rings for the first time. And he just had no passion in it. And I remember I used to ditch this class to go hang out in the wonderful Saint Miss James class. She was a swim coach, and a lot of us would congregate in her classroom during classes. Like you'd go in there, you'd find about 4 or 5 other little fellas and ladies just hanging out, and you'd be like, what up? She had a couch. It was great. She really liked me, and she actually pushed my comedy forward because she was a great audience, and she also would let me push the envelope. She was very strict with her class, but I was, her and I were tight, not in a weird, creepy way. But she would be like, hey, no cursing, because she heard someone saying, damn it, in her class. And I went, yeah, what the fuck? Fucking crushed. It fucking crushed. And she did was just like, Evan. I was like, sorry, I'm just trying to reinforce your rules here. Murdered. All right. Anyway, this history teacher, I would ditch the class to go over there. And I told him, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go to this class and I'm going to work on homework. That's the thing I started saying. So I'd go check in and then I'd go over there. So it was just this common thing that we knew. All right. And I remember at the end of the semester, I got a notice that, and it was, I want to say it was senior year at this point or junior year. I had something like 39 absence from this class. Absences, is that what they're called? Why do we add extra S's to shit? Anyway, moving on. I had like 39 absences from this class, and the fucking teacher, I go in there with my thing because that note went to my parents, and I'm like, whoa, this is a whole misunderstanding. I remember that day, I knew my report card was going to be on the rocks, okay? It was going to be on the rocks. Your boy never gave a shit about classes. Unless it was creative writing or English or something like that, or fucking PE, your boy checked out. Catch me outside. How about that? We get in the mail the day that report cards are supposed to be arriving. I get 2 letters from the school. Somehow, my mom's spider sense fucking going off. She knows something's up with her shifty son. She follows me outside to the mailbox. She knows I'm going to check the mail. She must know. Listen, this is going to be the silly thing. It's funny when you're younger, you really don't think your parents know every trick that you are doing because they fucking did it and more. All right. And our parents, at least my parents, grew up in like the 60s and 70s. Like they were doing even wilder shit. Now I did wilder shit than what my kids are going to do. So I'm going to know everything they did before they do it. And I'm like, you fucking fool, you know? She's like, hey, bring me the mail. She said it like that. And listen, your boy had watched that movie Rounders at the time. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. It was like a poker movie where they like did a bunch of card tricks and were hustling people at 21 blackjack. And I somehow, movie magic, I take a 50-50 chance and I put one of the envelopes in my pants, like in the back. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going through and I'm looking for the penny saver, you know? Y'all remember the penny saver? Your boy used to read that shit. Look how many pigeons were for sale. Anyway, weird childhood. So I hold on to the penny saver and I give her the other mail. I go to the bathroom and I open up the letter that I had from Quartz Hill. And I thought, fuck, it wasn't the report card. It was some bullshit, just maintenance letter that they would send out, spam or some shit. It wasn't what I needed. And then I went to the kitchen and it was World War III. It was like, oh, no. All these absences, these D's. I think I had like 3 D's at one point. And I was like, this fucking school can suck on these 3 nuts. How about these? Huh? Anyway. I fucked up that joke because I was supposed to say these D's nuts, but I said these 3 nuts, like 3 blind mice. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on. But anyway, I got to the situation with this teacher where I had to confront him about it. And I was like, hey, fuckface, good morning. And he was like, good morning. He knew this was coming because he was a little prepared. Okay. But unbeknownst to him, he did not know that I was also repaired. I was repaired emotionally and I was prepared. Bars. I was prepared to spar with him a little bit on this because, listen, I'm like Russia. I keep a nuke on everyone, all right? Something happens and I'm entering a situation. I'm like, hey, I'm keeping a little nuke ready to shoot off in your direction if you fucking come for me. Giggity. I go, hey, so I got an interesting letter in the mail. Report card said I was absent 39 fucking times. Kind of crazy. I know history's not your strong suit, but I thought we had an understanding. And he goes, Evan, you can't do that. You can't just leave my class and not be a part of it and expect to not have absences. And I'm like, hey, professor. I use that term with quotations because you're just a football coach that needed to teach a class to have the system work. And I was like, listen, we had an understanding. I thought we had established that I was going over there and I put the halo on. I was like, I was going over there working on schoolwork, getting tutored and everything. What's the big deal? And then he was like, that's not how this works. That needed to be something that we really took to the administration. Like, it doesn't work like that. You have 39 absences, and at this point, with that many absences, you're not gonna be able to pass this class. And I go, oh yeah? And he was like, yeah. And I stood there for a second and I thought about it. And I was like Doctor Strange, just figuring out the timeline of what my next move was going to be. And little did this teacher know that I knew that in a box on his desk, he kept a box of marijuana that he had given to students. He had marijuana in a box that he kept on his desk. And I literally go, what's in the box? And he literally just stares at me. And I go, look, I just need to figure out how to make this work. I didn't want to let that soak in too much. Because listen, he was a football coach and he was much bigger than me. And he seemed angry on the inside. All right. And I was like, I don't want to be the first student that gets not fucked by his teacher, but fucked up by his teacher, just beaten to a pulp. He was a big dude and just angry, real angry. So I said, what's in the box? I let it resonate for a second, just long enough. And then I go, look, I want to work this out. I will do whatever I need to do to just pass this. I will be here the rest of the semester. And he just looks at me and he goes, okay, don't miss any more classes. Cool, you got it. We had an understanding. And then in hindsight, I'm like, hey, maybe don't keep a box of marijuana. Yeah, it was a box. Real weird. I keep saying a box of marijuana on your desk that has little baggies of marijuana that you've given to students. All right. Maybe take your career serious and I'll take this class serious. All right. Bars, ladies and gentlemen, fucking bars. But that was my high school experience, you know? People used to, this is another crazy thing. People used to just come to class fucked up. Do you guys remember that? Where, I'm not looking for a real answer. You can nod your head though. Oh, thanks for participating. People would come to class fucked up all the time. And it was just a bunch of baby rattlesnakes. That's what being a teenager is just a baby rattlesnake. You don't know how to do anything yet. You don't have any discipline. But by the time, that's what's weird is when people start hitting their 30s and they're still doing that, they haven't learned how to control the rattle. That's what we're going to call it. Hey, we kind of got a cool thing that we're developing right now. You and I, this is special. They can't control the rattle. It's just like, I can't be around you, okay? Because you're a grown-ass baby rattlesnake and you're a flight risk, all right? And I can't be around it. The whole point of all of this is that I've probably written checks and bought stuff on consignment. Not consignment. Is that what it's called? Anyway, where you put something on. No, it's not consignment. It's not consignment. Layaway, and you're making payments. You're like, yeah, you're gonna pay for this later. Trust me. That's what it feels like when through my years of, I would say from like 17 to 24, maybe 23. I think those years I really just rattlesnaked it out. All right, where I was just like, let's see, you know, I found the new world and I sketched out maps. I figured it all out, what was on the other side. And I came back and I said, hey, I think my explorer days are behind me. All right. I don't know how long you can be an explorer. You know, there's a shelf life on that. If you want the story to end well, you got to evolve past the next level where you're like, hey, I did that. And that's what's beautiful about that stage, is that it doesn't last forever. You know, I think that's what's beautiful about all the stages of life. That's why, I mean, childhoods are weird because you eventually either sugarcoat your childhood or you salt coat it, where you look back at it and it's this harmful thing that you still deal with repercussions for, and you're still dealing with the traumatic shock waves of things you went through. That's the mind fuck of getting older, is when you realize that so much of your stuff that you're dealing with was because of when you were a kid, you know? That's kind of crazy, right? But I think as far as, you know, being a teenager and early 20s and all of that, what makes it special and what makes it awesome is those carefree years of, you know, when you first turn 18, You don't have a lot of responsibility depending on how you lived your life, depending how much you put on your credit card, where you're like, oh, you're gonna have to actually start paying this back immediately. There's no 0% interest period. All right, and there's no period, so you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, what makes that beautiful is the fact that it doesn't last forever. Can you imagine? Like that's always what's interesting. And it's almost like almost the vampire effect. And we'll get into Twilight in a little bit. Your boy has an angle on that. The vampire effect is like you do everything those first 50 years. Probably being a vampire, those first few years are amazing if you think about it. It's like you get to kind of party. You have no repercussions. You can't go out during the day, but sometimes that's overrated. All the fun stuff happens at night, and you get to a point where you fucked everyone. All right, because that's obviously what being a vampire is all about at the end of the day. But then you get bored of that. You've done it all. It's like the rock star life. Someone gets super famous. They ignite all these dopamine receptors where they're just like, I'm going to fuck every celebrity, every fan. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to drink. I'm going to party. I'm so cool. I have all these people around me. You're fucking hyper driving. Just going into hyperspace with your fucking dopamine. Just, here we go, Chewy. But after a while, you're doing that hyperspeed just to get normal. You know, your dopamine has been fucking depleted. And I think you get bored of it. And it becomes dangerous. And that's what being a vampire would be like, is after a while, I think you get bored. And that's why in so many vampire movies, I always thought it was great in that movie, The Underworld, I think it was, where vampires would just be bored. So they're like, yo, listen, like they have the hierarchy figured out. And there'd be some like head vampires who are just like, dude, I'm gonna fucking sleep for about 100 years. Don't fucking wake me up. All right, I'm just tired of doing this. I need to like to mentally, I'm checked out. All right, I need to kind of like, I'm worn out and I need to start over. All right, so they sleep 100 years. I think that's what would happen is if any of these periods of your life lasted forever, you would eventually get bored of them. You would have to. And it also gets weird when you hold on to it. I feel like you can't move on to the next one unless you let go of that one. Bars. That was something I thought that, I don't know. If we're going to be real and try to find actually something that's not just purely ridiculous in this rattlesnake episode, I think that was something that I thought I might have trouble with. Or maybe I've always looked at myself as more carefree and silly. And I always was worried. Like I've always been someone who does look to the future. It's a weird balance with me because I went through hard shit when I was young. Like losing a brother and like stuff like that, like traumatic stuff, that everybody goes through hard things. So at a young age, I got put into a situation where I had to grow up really fast. It kind of like wakes you up. So I became really grown up in that sense. I became like hardened, almost like an old soul. I was like, at the same time I was being a silly willy in high school, I also was like, also looking at that high school life as I was like looking through a glass where I was like, a lot of these people, at least from my perspective at the time, was like, they're living in this world and it's all sunshine and rainbows, but I'm over here holding like off the upside down world, like everything's crazy of what's going on inside of me and like family life and all of that. And that's just an illusion because this was kind of before the internet was huge and it wasn't what it was now. So you don't really have a shoulder to like lean on and like a way to deal with all that stuff. So you think it's a very unique experience. So it's like isolating. But it was like a balance of being that way. But then I also was trying to preserve this silly side of me. And I lost that side for a while because of just, I think you deal with something hard and then it springs you the other direction where you're just like, I like broke away from it. So I think there was a lot of times where I completely wanted to get away from having to be serious and deal with stuff. So I would kind of run away from some responsibilities probably. But I also realized that as I get older, it's great because I think doing comedy and just trying to be entertaining and creative in general is naturally what I'm inclined to do. It's like where I get to kind of be kind of crazy. This isn't I don't know why this feels like an Oprah interview now. This got way too tense. But it feels like the most authentic. And it's like all that stuff, all the weird shit has to happen. It's like there's that great quote where it's like you can't, dot the stars going forward, but you can dot them going backwards to see how things led you to where you are. But when I'm going back to the original thought, when I think that I was going to have trouble moving on and maturing, it's because I didn't realize that comedy and all this stuff was an actual viable career for me. I kind of always thought, and maybe it's like a self-esteem thing growing up where you don't think you're like, why not me? Like I didn't have that thought. It kind of was like, oh, those people do that and that's amazing and all blah, blah. Plus I was disillusioned to how hard entertainers work. A lot of entertainers work hard and it's anything, but like, do you know who really works hard? Are the people who are providing for their families and doing all these hard jobs that no one really sees how much effort goes into it. Like there's so many people working hard and like in so many different industries that just, they don't get any approval. They don't get any fulfillment. They're just hard workers. And maybe there's fulfillment in that, providing for their family. People in oil fields, you got firefighters, you got some firefighters, some they're just cooking. But like forestry people, some people in the medical field, I could go on and on of how many people work so much harder and don't get any of the credit that they deserve. There's a lot of people out there. I don't know what the point was, why I was saying that, but it just makes sense to, entertainers and thinking that those people work so hard and they do this and they do that. There's hard work that goes into being successful at entertainment. But I think at the end of the day, it's like a luxury to get to make a career out of this. I'm still on the come up. I'm still on the grind, kids. Okay. I'm like working at Starbucks, just grinding bars, stupid bars. But make no mistake, this is still like, there's a reason why I'm pursuing this and sacrificing a lot to try to make this a career. It's a great career. It's an amazing thing just to play all day and and that's not what I do. I fucking work. All right. But the ideal situation, once you get to a point, I think a lot of people lose sight of how amazing it is to actually get to do something that you're passionate about. And that's why it's worthwhile to sacrifice for it. But I just never thought when I was younger that this was going to be a viable career, that this was going to be something for me. And it's great. It's great. I don't have anything else to say about that. I don't know. We had other topics to talk about, but we're almost at the end of the episode. Shout out to all the rattlesnakes out there, just rocking it in the free world. We'll talk about this briefly. We were talking about vampires. Your boy watched Twilight again. Let that sink in. You thought you knew me? You don't even fucking know me, dog. All right, listen. It popped up on my Fire TV. My fiance was in the room or in the bathroom getting ready for bed. I was like, let me just play it. This is such a silly movie. And here's the thing. I remember watching Twilight when I was younger. I almost enjoyed it. I don't know what that says about me. I read all the books. I thought the books were great. And maybe that's why I enjoyed the movies, because I thought the books were great. Now, listen. I went back and watched this movie. The acting and just dialogue and everything about this movie is complete dog shit. I'm sorry, okay? there's a scene from the moment that Edward puts Bella on his back and runs up the hill, fucking piggyback style. No, I can't deal with this. Okay. How this movie became a global viral pandemic of Team Jacob and Edward, I don't know. I don't know how they pulled it off. All right. What Twilight did to our culture is worse than COVID. All right. It's some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. The dialogue, better hold on tight, little spider monkey. Someone, and that wasn't in the book. That means someone went through and was like, hey, this scene's great. He's running around showing her the forest. What if he just said, better hold on tight, little spider monkey? We'll just have this part of the movie that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie and is so out of left field. Spider monkey. What an interesting choice of words. And keep in mind, Robert Pattinson is a bad motherfucker. And I don't think it's any secret that Twilight almost sunk his career. I think for a long time, we didn't give Robert Pattinson, Patterson, I always fuck this up, an opportunity. Like we didn't give him a chance to get that off of him. After Twilight, he just had a stink on him where it was like, nah, bro, you're in jail for at least the next 8 years. Then we'll come back around to give you a chance. Because now him as Batman, he's killing it. He's had a few movies that are pretty good. The Lighthouse was crazy, but phenomenal acting. He had one also where he has a brother who's special needs and they like rob a bank. It's great acting. The story's a little loose. Like the whole point of it is a little loose, but he did phenomenal in it. He's a great actor, but Twilight, it just, listen, New Moon, it starts getting better. It's a great story. Like if they took the Twilight story and they had a studio like HBO redo it as a series and made it darker, like Game of Thrones style, because we can handle wolves. Look at what Game of Thrones made us all so attached to dire wolves and dragons and all of that. They just fucking butchered that story at the end. I think Twilight would be dope as a darker show. I would love to see it actually. I would be there for it. Because it's a dope premise that you have vampires and you have these werewolves that spawn up from the tribe whenever there's vampires in the area. They like turn feral and they know like it's just this crazy Native American magic, I guess. But and you know why I think it has to be darker? Anytime you're dealing with storylines like that, when you add adults in it, it has to be darker to pull off. Harry Potter worked for the generation that was raised on it because at least me, like I grew up with Harry Potter. Like I grew up, we were the same age kind of. And so the demographic aged up as they got older. It was like lightning striking the way they did that. But then they did this Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. They did it with adults and it was geared for adults. You know, they tried, and this is where you mess up, is when you get selfish and you try to capture two audiences at once. You're not going to have either of them completely because you don't commit to either one. They needed to make Fantastic Beasts for adults. They needed to be a lot darker and needed to be more serious and higher stakes. It felt too much like they were trying to maintain Harry Potter with it. Like it was too soft and silly and cute at times when they should have done it completely an adult version. You know, not like triple X version. I mean, I could have been interesting, you know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this episode has gone off long enough. I enjoyed this one. We really got into it with the rattlesnakes, and it was a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on iTunes. It helps the podcast. Leave a review on Spotify. You watch it wherever you want to watch it. You watch it if you want to watch it, okay? And at the end of the day, just remember, no matter what, I still love you.